What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Next Up with Nicole. I'm your host, Nicole Ryan, and my co-host and EP, Sarah Nekich. And next up this week is the Aces. What's up, girls?
What's up?
Hi. What's up?
Now, I also want to let everybody know that's watching this episode that not only are you this massive band, but you're also associate producers of this episode of Next Up, because we did put you to work before we head into this episode, because we're going to play a game with you guys. And you really took your job seriously. You guys put this whole game together, and I'm very excited about it. So thank you.
Of course.
So much hard work. So much hard work.
A lot of work. So
yeah, it is. It really is. But I think if anybody was able to do it, it would be you guys. So Thank you again for being here. It's so fabulous. Sarah has spoken about you, I mean, ad nauseum, to be honest. She loves you. She's a super fan. She has really gotten me to, start to stand you guys as well. You've been a fan for how long, Sarah?
Since I was in high school, and I'm 23, gonna be 24. So a bit. And I've seen you guys for years, and you guys were the first fan account that I ran as a stan, and now I'm in the music biz, so very much stan to working in the biz pipeline. But
yeah, that's a serious glow up. That's sick.
Yeah, right.
Pipeline.
I know. So she's given me a lot of background about you guys and has really gotten me into you guys, and I think we're both super excited for you guys to continue to grow and become the superstars that we know that you are. So let's go back to the beginning. You grew up in Utah. You guys met each other in elementary school. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So you met each other in elementary school. What was the music scene like in Utah? What was it like? How did you come together? Set the scene for us.
Yeah, we were just kids. So Alisa and I are sisters. So we grew up, we just started playing music together because our older brother was in punk and metal bands, and we thought that was really cool. So we just decided that we wanted to play music together. But, growing up in Utah, playing piano is really common and stuff. So our mom wanted us to play piano and stuff, but we were like, no, we want a guitar, and Alisa wants drums, and we want to we want to play music. We just don't want to do it in this kind of traditional church setting. And so we started playing music, and then we'd known Kenna since we were just little kids. We went to kindergarten together, and so we've been best friends basically our whole lives.
Right.
And we were just like, yo, Ken, you should be in our band. You should get a bass because we need a bass player.
So learn it.
learn the bass, and you're going to be the bass player because you have to be in our band. You're our best friend. And then her dad got her a bass for Christmas.
Yeah, Santa did, not my dad.
Santa.
Santa did, yeah.
Get it right.
And so we started playing together and practicing together, and we just really loved playing music together, and started trying to gig around locally in our hometown, just at wherever anyone would let us play. At a point, we would pay to play at a point. We're just just let us play.
Yeah, we were so young, there wasn't really we couldn't tap into the music scene quite yet, because 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds can't really pull up to venues and bars and see what the scene is. We were
you
just
can't? I don't know, maybe it was different in Utah. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, it kind of was in a way. We could play some venues just because they didn't serve alcohol, which was cool, and that helped us at a young age to get on stages. But yeah, early on it was just band practice in the basement, playing the local carnivals, playing birthday parties. We would kind of just play anywhere anyone would let us play for a long time.
Yeah.
We met Katie in junior high, and she's an amazing guitar player and a really good friend of ours. And I really just played guitar to sing. And I was like, we need her in our band because I can't hardly play guitar. So we started playing together. We just played this talent show together, and we're like, hey, would you want to play with us? And she's like, yeah, totally. And then it never stopped. We're a band ever since, from the time we were 13, us four. And yeah, like Alisa said, the music scene in Utah was actually really great for a young band, because we grew up in a pretty religious town, and so they didn't serve alcohol in this local music venue called Velour that all these college bands and local bands would play. So we were very early able to start gigging and playing and performing on stage and stuff, because there was no alcohol in the building, so any age could be there.
Right. So that was to your benefit, actually. It was
Yeah. So we couldn't play in Salt Lake really ever. We just played in our hometown and down in the county, because Salt Lake couldn't get in. We were too young. But we started, in Provo, and the reason we could start playing on those stages because they didn't serve alcohol. So we got like as 14-year-olds, we were just like working our asses off trying to like get on these stages. And it was actually really, I think, a pivotal part like of our development as a band was getting to play like that.
You know, I mean, I know you guys grew up, like you said, a very religious town, and you all grew up Mormon. Did that affect your sound, any of your choices? How did your family react to you wanting to do music and be in a band? What was that like for all of you?
Yeah, I think that music is definitely a big part of the religion. Like you're definitely like encouraged to grow up playing instruments and singing. There's like church choir, all that stuff. You know, like most religions incorporate a lot of music. So we were definitely encouraged from a really young age to be musical, which I think was a big part of it. I'd say the main way that it probably influenced us is just like, you know, growing up, like not really partying or drinking or doing anything that was like traditionally like teenager vibes. We just like more focused on playing music, and like we'd spend our weekends like gigging and like performing and stuff like that rather than like partying like normal teenagers probably would. So I say it benefited us in that way. But yeah, I think outside of that, it didn't really influence like much of the sound or anything like that. It was more just like kind of, you know, music and like hobbies like that kind of took the place of other activities, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like it also helped like prepare us a lot for being like women in the entertainment industry, because like it was so rare to be women doing what we do when we were growing up where we grew up. And so we got used to, you know, like kind of having to do things differently and like not worrying about what people think as much. So I feel like that helped prepare us a lot for then going into the entertainment industry and like kind of still being the minority doing that.
You guys started as the Blue Aces, not the Aces right away, as a super fan like myself would know. You guys started out with kind of like an alternate like rock sound, and like you guys still are in alt rock, but it definitely evolved. What was the difference between the Blue Ace sound versus like the Aces sound that you slowly came into?
I think we just didn't have any other resources but like a guitar and like an amp. So we just risked it in the way we could, you know, and I think our songwriting, you know, just developed into what it is now with just a lot of practice. You know, a lot of those songs that we wrote with Blue Aces, you know, like it was all just like learning how to be a songwriter, and just like we just would bounce off of each other and write songs together. And there's something really beautiful about that start. And then, you know, evolving into traveling to Los Angeles and getting to work with a ton of different producers and writers, and you know, your sound kind of just evolves that way because you just have more resources, and you just you know, there's just more to experiment with and like more to do. But I think that sound will forever, I think that's why our sound is kind of like, it has those kind of like garage band roots, but I think it's just getting more and more polished the older we get. Like we're getting better at like honing in exactly what that sound is, and like cleaning it up, I would say.
And I mean, when we were kids, we were also heavily influenced by like bands like Paramore, and I think we had those kind of influences, which is why we made also that kind of music. But I remember when we were starting to write to figure out what is it that we really want to sound like, kind of having that in the back of our head of like, oh, maybe we do need to be more alternative, or people won't take us seriously for being 4 women playing like more pop music. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was that kind of mental battle of how we were going to be seen.
Which sucks kind of that you have to even think about that. Like instead of just playing the music that you want to play that is true to you, you have to think about how the industry and how the audience is going to, you know, receive it.
Right. Yeah, totally. Definitely. I think that like women are very quickly put in a box, especially we found as being an all-female band. People have a lot of preconceived notions about you, and they're going to decide whether they like you or not without even hearing your music for a long time. So yeah, I think from a young age, we felt that pressure of like, be more alternative, be more rock and roll, or like people aren't going to listen to you. People aren't going to take you seriously. And then as we got older, we were kind of like, you know, we just need to make the music that's authentic to us as artists. And, you know, and ultimately we were inspired by a lot of disco music and a lot of 80s pop growing up, you know, the stuff our parents showed us when we were kids. So we started incorporating that sound into our music as we got older, and it felt natural to us and it felt good. And we kind of just, you know, stopped worrying about what people were going to think and just went with what felt authentic. Because when we tried to make music that, you know, ultimately was a lot more, I guess, just like more, I mean, we still have like so much alternative influence, and like I think you're going to hear more of that from us in the future, but I think when we were trying to force it when we were younger, it just felt inauthentic, you know? And so our mission was just like, we just have to make music that feels authentic.
Did you see Haley Williams hop on stage with Billie Eilish at Coachella? I was like, yes, yes.
It was she sounded amazing. She sounded
she just always sounds amazing. She's just like the fucking, like an icon.
Totally.
She's just incredible. And I think, I think we're really like multifaceted artists as far as our sound goes. I think that we love to experiment with all different types of sound. And that was something that was also really hard to grapple with when we were first putting out our music. And like, as an artist, it's just like, we're the type of artist that I think every single record, you're going to get like a little bit of a new flavor from, like, you're going to get something different where, I think there's different types of artists, and there's artists that kind of like really hone in on this one sound. And then they just make multiple bodies of work that are just like this world of one sound. And then there's artists that, every record, they're kind of like restless and they want to try something different while still maintaining their identity, hopefully, And so I think we're kind of the latter. I think that we're always kind of antsy and we're always wanting to push ourselves and do something that feels kind of scary or dangerous or out of our comfort zone. So, with this all being said, while we are like definitely in the pop vein, like we're definitely still alternative, and we're just gonna like fucking fluctuate as much as possible, because I think that's just who we are. Like, we're always trying to do something new and different.
I just feel like now more than ever, like genres are blending, and there's so many crossover artists from genre to genre back and forth. It's like perfect.
Like, I was obsessed with Doja Cat putting out that whole cover, because I was like, that's so sick. Like, seeing her cover, what did she cover? Celebrity Skin? Which I'm a massive Hole fan, and seeing Doja Cat do that was just like such a testament to, like, I just feel like genre is like less and less of a thing, every day.
It's like, if a song's great, it sounds great.
That's exactly how we like to roll too. Like, we're just like, we can kind of, I think it's cool to bring in all kinds of influences. Like, on our last record, we influenced all types of shit, from like kind of classic rock to like, we even have a song that's a little more like early 2000s, like beachy, kind of like reggae-ish, sublime-ish. Like,
awesome.
We love kind of blending all the colors together. So I love seeing that stuff from artists.
I love that the music industry is going in that direction, because it's just so unrealistic to expect people to like make the same music their whole lives. Like, you're constantly changing and constantly evolving, and like, it's so normal to just have different preferences and different like inspiration as an artist. So I just think it's cool that we're finally like there with music.
Especially with young artists. Like, I feel like especially artists that like, we started when we were so young, we signed like straight out of high school. So like, I feel like I even listened to completely different music from when I was like in high school and we were making our first record to like the record we're making now. Like, I used to like pretty much exclusively listen to R&B and hip hop, and now I mostly listen to indie and rock music. So it's like, I feel like that definitely, as an artist, what you're listening to also influences your sound as well. And I feel like watching young artists too, like Billie Eilish or like Olivia Rodrigo, like, it's interesting to see where they're going to go, because they're so young, their taste is still developing, and they're going to make totally different records from when they were 17 versus when they're like 25 or 30. It's going to sound so different,
Absolutely. And I was just going to ask you, actually, like, at what point did things change from like you guys were just friends to like, that you would pay to play, or you were just playing any place that would like allow you to play for them? Did it turn into something real? That sounds like you guys got signed right out of high school. How did that happen? How did that big deal happen?
Yeah, we really just like worked our asses off in high school. Like, we gigged a lot. Like, we would play probably a show every weekend for like, I don't know, 3 years straight. We just really, really, like, that's all we did, is like, we just like really gigged a lot. And so with that happening, we started to get better and better. And so in our hometown, we started getting like a bit more attention when we were probably like 16, 17, as like kind of a real band that was on their way up to possibly being, making it like a full-time career. We were still kids, so there was a lot of different voices and people kind of being like, you need to go to college. There's a lot of pressure to go to college, and to like, what are you really going to do? Okay, this is cute and this is fun, but like, what are you really going to do? Because even though, we were gigging a bunch and having a lot of fun, and like, Utah was a really cool place that let us on stages early, the culture is not that of like, you're gonna do anything with this. Like, that's not how that culture is. It's very religious, it's very suburban, and it's very reserved. So like, most people get married when they're in their like early 20s, and they have kids, and like they live this really religious life. And so when it came to actually talking about like, okay, we want to like actually do this for real, there was like a decent amount of pushback. I think we kind of all have different experiences with like our families and that kind of conversation. Like, I think our parents were mainly pretty supportive, and really were like, if you want to do it, let's go. But it was just like the community aspect and kind of like the lifestyle aspect that was
right.
heavy influence on like, you know, that conversation as well. So I would say that once, you know, our senior year of high school, Kenna and Katie and I, Alisa's a couple years younger than us, our senior year of high school, we really wanted to like make a little EP and like just really see where it would go and see if we could get like national attention. And so we did that. We made this EP. We had this big like release show and started having these conversations, but there was still always like college kind of weighing in, and the girls really wanted to go. And I don't know, it got like kind of tough for a second, but we ultimately ended up working with this producer in our hometown, and he was like, you need to talk to my friend who's a lawyer. I worked with him. He's amazing. We were like, we don't need a lawyer. We don't even have a contract. We don't.
What you do?
We need a lawyer. Like, we need a manager. We need other things first. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, he's a lawyer. He's amazing. And he's really connected. I think you should talk to him. So my mom like cold called him, like got his number somehow, like shout out Jill. She's the mom.
Yes.
Got his number and just cold called him. And he's like at the airport and he's like, who is this? And she's like, my name's Jill Ramirez. Like, my daughters are in the Blue Aces at the time. You need to listen to them. And he was like, send me their video. Like, I'm in the airport. Like, I don't know what's really going on.
I'm not interested. Click.
Yeah, he was like, how did you get my number? Like,
well, I mean, wouldn't you though? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. I would do the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. And so my mom sends him, he, you know, gracious enough to let her send him a video, and she sent him this music video we made our senior year. And he called back in like 10 minutes and he just like loved our band and was like, I love them. I want to talk to them. I want to represent them. And we're still with Ed to this day. He's our lawyer. He's been our lawyer for almost amazing. You know, like 8 years. And and then it just kind of spiraled from there. Like we just started talking to Ed, but like we made this really distinct goal. You know, there was a moment where our band almost broke up, and I almost was like, okay, I want to be in the music industry, so I'm gonna have to figure out what to do. And Alisa was still in high school and the girls were gonna go to college. And there was just this like kind of this tension our senior year of like, what are we going to do? Like, do we really want to do this full time? Like, what do we want to do? And Katie came over to my house one night and we were watching the Grammys, and Lorde had won like 7 Grammys, and Lorde was our age at the time. She was 17. And we were like, I was like feeling so inspired by it. And Katie, they just came over to my house. She just like showed up at my door and she's like, I'm out front. Came out because we had kind of decided like maybe we were going to go to college, and like it was this moment of like, okay, our band might not progress. And she was like, no, like we have to do the band. Like I just feel in my soul that we just have to do this. I feel like we have something so special. It would be such a shame to not like give it its full shot. And it sounds like such a Hollywood movie, but I promise you it was insane.
No,
it really was a Hollywood movie.
And I was like, all right, like I'm in, you know, I'm in, let's go. And then Kenna like simultaneously drives up,
pulls up.
Well, and she's coming over to my house for homework or some shit. And she's like, hops in the car with us, and Alisa hops in the car, and we were just like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, forget what everyone says. Forget like the pressure from the community. Like, we're in, let's just do it. And let's give it a full, like solid year out of high school, maybe 2 years, and just see what can happen.
Who's getting the rights to this movie? This is epic.
One day, Alisa's gonna direct it. We're gonna do it. But yeah, it was like a really special moment. And I think like, you know, ever since then, we just were like eyes on the prize, like fire under our asses. Like we were just going. And so we just built on that connection to Ed, our lawyer, like when we reached out to him, and then, you know, got introduced to management and started coming to LA, and then it all just kind of started snowballing. But we, you know, it was really difficult. We were working like temp jobs and like we were saving and scraping money together to go to Los Angeles, and, you know, begging our dad for any couple $100 he could throw our way.
Something
amazing and support. But like it was really hard. Like we, you know, we come from pretty humble backgrounds, and like we didn't have parents that could fund this for us. We had to really work our asses off and put our heads together and ask favors of local people. Like a lot of our music videos in our first EP was like dirt cheap, and
Yeah.
it was even favors by people just being like, I make wedding videos, I'll make a video.
Oh,
Like,
truly DIY vibes, and just like, we just grinded our asses off for so long until, you know, we ended up about like 6 months after we'd kind of decided to really prioritize the band, and, you know, the girls decided to not go to college and all that. Within 6 months, we made this like goal sheet of like things we wanted to get done. We wanted to record an EP. We wanted to like sell out our home venue. We wanted to do a couple like big things.
Gotta manifest it.
Yeah,
we wrote it. We wrote it all down.
We wrote it all down. We signed this piece of paper, and we manifested that we would like do all these things. And ultimately, within 6 months, it was really serendipitous because like exactly 6 months later, we ticked off all these boxes, and then we got a call from our lawyer, Ed, and he was like, hey, I've been like sending your guys' stuff around to managers. Lord's manager wants to have a meeting with you. He loves you guys. And so then we ended up having a meeting with our former manager, Tim, who at the time was managing Lord, and we ended up signing to Lord's manager 6 months later.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's a movie. This is a movie.
It was so full circle.
Like,
So
looking back,
it was
it's
like
I have
insane.
goosebumps all over.
it was like manifestation at its like purest form. It was really wild.
We didn't even know we were like manifest. Like there weren't words for that then.
We didn't even know that was.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But we
That's
did.
insane.
We did sign that piece of paper, and we still have it, and it had short-term goals and long-term goals and what we needed to do. And just like we like won our local battle of the bands. It got us free recording time. We like made the best song we could, got someone to make a music video. Like we just worked with what we had and just like really kept our head down until, you know, we are where we are right now, which is
You guys got to frame that, man. Don't
Yeah,
let anything happen to that piece of paper.
One day, I better
Oh,
see
yeah.
that on the wall.
Yeah.
somewhere.
Have that somewhere still, right? I feel like
Yeah. Yeah, I
got
still
it.
have
Katie
it. It's
got
at
it
my
somewhere.
parents' house. It's at my parents' house.
When we're done with this episode, someone go make sure that that piece of paper is okay for me, for anyone, if not for you, for me.
Okay.
So we're loving getting to know you. I can't wait for the world to continue to know you. And so we want you guys to help get to know you a little bit better. We've all played this game before at a party, at a sleepover, at something, maybe at work, like as an icebreaker. But you can usually do 2 truths and a lie. We got a few more of you girls. So we're going to do 3 truths and 1 lie. You have prepared 4 things about yourselves. 3 of them are true. 1 of you is going to be telling us a lie. Now, Sarah should ace this test about the aces.
yeah.
I'm hoping I can.
It's cheap. Sarah knows too much.
I know. It's
Okay, so
not
I
fair.
will guess first. I will guess
All right,
first.
all
Right,
right.
okay. All right. I'll
That's
make the
better.
first guess. So
All right.
why don't you, I don't know who wants to kick it off. Tell us all of your, I'm air quoting fun facts.
Elise, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can kick it off.
Okay.
All right. So fun fact, the first time we went to Austria, we were driven around all day in a Bentley by a former Prince of Austria, and we were serenaded by the top cellist in the city, our own music. They played us like all our own music on the cello all day.
In Mozart's house.
Mhm.
Okay. That's very detailed. I'm going to talk out loud. I feel like that's very detailed, which means it could be true, but you're also creatives. So, you know, I don't
Right.
know. I mean, because it's so detailed, I don't know. Okay. Keep going. Keep going. Sorry. Just talking out loud.
Okay, should I go next?
Yeah.
Fun fact, when we were at a party, Lana Del Rey stopped us and asked to take a photo of us on her iPhone.
Okay. If that's true, that's dope. Who's next?
Okay. We were put front row at a Brooklyn Nets game and put on the Jumbotron for a good minute.
Okay. Okay. All right. And Cristal.
Final fun fact about us. We have skydived into a show via help of Red Bull skydiving team.
Okay. So I do know from the research we've done that you are on that record label, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. I think I'm just gonna go with like my gut, because these all could 100% be true. Is the lie the Brooklyn Nets game?
No.
No. Wait, let me get one more shot. Is it the Austria one?
No, it's true.
Oh my God, I suck. All right, Sarah, you go.
I knew all along. It's Chris. Chris is the one that's lying.
It's not skydived into a
When you
show
said
yet.
the Mozart thing, I remember watching you. Like you guys did like an episode where you like went to like Mozart's like house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
We
that
did
was
it,
actually insane. The fact that that's true is insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've done some crazy shit. We have to utilize the crazy shit we've done.
Yeah. Oh
So,
my
the
gosh.
funny thing about the skydiving is actually like we were offered. They asked us, "Do you want to skydive into like a particular festival we were gonna do?" And we were like, "I don't know."
What a way to go it would be, right?
Like,
know,
It'd be
right?
so fun.
I can't picture any of my favorite bands skydiving into this.
I don't. Oh my gosh!
I
think
love
would
it.
be
Hilarious.
so funny.
That
I
was
would pay good
amazing.
money to watch you guys jump out of a plane together and just like come down and like
Oh,
Right
I
on.
mean, listen,
Option.
throw that in your back pocket. I think like as your career progresses, that could be something that could be really
for the
cool.
movie.
Maybe
If we
like-
get for the movie.
The movie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe for the movie, maybe for like a grand moment. Like that feels like a little Super Bowl level vibes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I got
that's-
you.
That's
I got you.
all right, well when
So
the
you
Aces
guys-
play the Super Bowl, you can skydive in.
No, we're manifesting AF today.
Found
Yeah.
guys.
So I know you guys have been touring nonstop since what, like 2018,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
And the
So,
2017, yeah.
2017 until
Touring
obviously
pretty
the pandemic.
nonstop up until the pandemic. Yeah. and then we
Okay.
got a big break.
so how do you feel like being on the road that much has affected you guys and, you know, helped you change and grow and evolve as individuals and as a group?
Yeah.
I just would say like we're so much more well traveled, which is amazing. I think when you have time to travel and like see other places, like we've been lucky enough to get a tour the UK and Europe as well, and just go all over the country and like see a bunch of places. I think that like really changes you as a person. The more you get to see, you know, the way people live and different cultures and stuff. I think that that's definitely changed us. And then I would say as well, just like I think our live show has just gotten so strong from like those like vigorous touring schedules, like where you just are on the fly in the festivals and everything. Like you just have to perform and you just have to make it work. And especially when you're opening for someone, like it's just you're at the mercy of, you know, you're just happy to be there. So I feel like that's like really like tuned up our like professionalism and our live show in a way that I don't think like not touring we would have been able to.
We've been through so much as, I mean, like when we first started out from, you know, being the opening band for really small clubs to headlining, you know, our biggest tour so far. And it's just interesting, like the situations we've been put in and being all women and being assumed that we weren't capable of doing a lot of things and having to fight through that a lot, especially in like, you know, these small venues with a lot of being surrounded by majority men. And just like we've changed so much as people. I feel like I've lived like 8 different lives, and like from where we are today, and being able to see, we've seen parts of the country that no one gets to see because we've had to drive every inch of it, and then we've been able to like grow to be in a position where we were on our first bus tour just at the end of the last year, which felt like such a cool accomplishment. And we individually have changed so much and together so much, and have been put through, I think, a lot of different pressures. But now touring just feels like this really exciting creative world that we get to be a part of that just like continues to get bigger and better all the time. So it's really exciting.
No, you released your latest album in 2020. Obviously, the pandemic was different for everybody. You know, what was it like releasing an album during such a difficult time? Because every musician that I've spoken to or artist sort of had a different take on it. Like, use this as writing time and being in the studio time. And some people were like, this is what people need. Like, we should release music.
Yeah, I mean, it was really tricky timing for us because we had stopped touring to make our second record in 2019. So we kind of used all of 2019 to make Under My Influence. And then what we were meant to do was put out Under My Influence in 2020 and go on tour. But then we couldn't really do any of that. So putting out a record during the pandemic was a really interesting experience because we couldn't do traditional promo, we couldn't travel, we couldn't tour. So it was kind of like, you know, I think it was definitely in a way something for us to look forward to and like something to keep us somewhat busy during that tragic time. And it was nice to like be able to share music with fans and like give the fans something to look forward to. But it was definitely not ideal. Like, you know, would not recommend putting out your album during global
It candidly sucked.
Yes.
It sucked really hard.
It wasn't fun to like have to to not be able to like work a record that you spent a year and a half making. So it was a bit of a bummer, but ultimately I think the upside to it was just, you know, having something to look forward to, like something to kind of brighten such a dark time.
Well, I think the record that I would say the best thing that came out of that artistically was this new record that we're working on and have finished. I would say that this record that we're going to put out next would not exist without that happening.
Yeah, truly.
I think, you know, at first it was really devastating. I think, you know, we had something to look forward to, but there was just this like grief that came with like, you know, putting out this record that we'd worked so hard on that just didn't get to be realized at all in the way that we hoped it would be. You know, and so that was hard to kind of let go any previous notions of like what was going to happen around that album or what we were going to be able to do around it, or, you know. So then after, I think once like that kind of grief settled, then we just spent like day and night in the studio, because we were just like, we want to write, you know. I think we like started going back to writing for just the sake of writing, because like obviously the world is like on fire and like you don't even know what's going to happen given any week. And so it started to, you know, I think as a group, and Alisa and I out in LA at that time together, we were just like, let's just write because we like to write at this point, I guess. Like there's no real, it felt like all that little stuff, you know, wasn't important anymore. Like the, you know, success of a record or working of a record, because just like, you don't even know what's going to happen on the day to day. So it's like, what do we do just to like fill our life with joy and happiness and creativity? And like, obviously we're in a band and we're writers and we're musicians, and that's what we've been doing since we were little kids. And so the approach towards this record, like something really beautiful blossomed out of like just this childlike approach to creating and connecting back to creation for creation's sake, and not for any sort of, you know, I don't know, career gain or any expectation on what that music would be. Just like, do we fuck with this music? Do we love this music? And like, are we having a good time making it? So that's what I think was the best thing to come out of that time, is like this new record. We're like over the moon about. It's just, it's amazing. It's like the best music we've ever made. We're so excited about it. More than anything, it's so amazing because like, we just deeply love it so much. Like it just feels so real. And so it was so fun to make the whole thing. So yeah.
Well, I'm obviously super excited to hear about a new record coming, obviously. But like talking about like your anthems from the first record to the second record, like obviously you guys are heavily involved in the LGBT community. And as a fan, you know, I look up to you guys in the sense of, you know, making those queer anthems, you know, 801 Kelly. Like, what was the process of writing those songs, and why did you decide on the second record you're going to use female pronouns, and kind of changing the way you went about those songs versus the first album?
I feel like it was something that we didn't like think too hard about. It just kind of came to us naturally while we were making the songs in the moment. You know, I think when we were younger, when we were making that first record, we were simply just like younger. Like we were like 17, 19, still living at home, still figuring out our identities as well. And so like writing about that, we didn't know how to write about that quite yet. And it didn't feel natural to write with like female pronouns or write about being queer yet, because that's something we were still like actually tackling in real time. But by the time we were writing the second record, you know, we traveled the world, we felt really confident in our identities. We felt, you know, like we were older, we were like 21, 23. So when we were making music, we were just writing, you know, like we always do, about, you know, what was going on in our lives, you know, who we were dating, like what was going on. And that was women. And a lot of those stories were queer, you know, because we're queer and our lives are queer. So like we just naturally ended up writing music about that. And then it wasn't really until we like played it for people that like other people would kind of point it out and be like, oh, this music's a lot more queer. You're using she, her pronouns. Like, how do you like, what made you want to do that? And we were kind of just like, oh, it was kind of second nature. We didn't think about it too hard, but like now that you bring it up, like, yeah, like we're going to stick with it and it feels good. And there were people that questioned us and were like, are you sure you want to keep that in there? Like, is there any part of you that wants to make it more ambiguous and like kind of like your first record and kind of keep writing that line? And we just really were not interested in doing that. You know,
thanks.
Yeah. Exactly. We felt it was important to represent our community and to make music that was authentically queer. And it felt important to us. And it felt like if we were to take out the pronouns and kind of, I don't know, like straight or something. It just wouldn't feel right.
It just, it would have been like lying by omission. It just felt like if we were going to actually go into these songs that were birthed from like a real, authentic place and like tweak them and edit them as to like taking out a major part of the storyline in hopes that we would be more likable or like safer. That just was like, that's just nothing we'd ever be interested in doing. And I think like, that's a major part of who our band is just like the authenticity is everything to us. Like we have to preserve that with our life, or like the Aces is not the Aces, we started out as kids, like just playing music together as best friends in like the basement. Like that is a massive part, I think, also of why, our fans love our band so much. It's because I think that they can sense that and they can feel that. And I hope that they can. And because that's so important to us. And that's something that we'll always, protect. And so when those conversations were coming up, it was just like, there's no conversation. Like, this is the music we want to make. And, we're really lucky as well to be, thank God also it's just 2022. Like, let's just get with the picture, everyone.
Yeah, I think so.
But we also have, like really amazing, our label's really amazing, and our management, is really amazing. And have always just backed whatever we want to do 100%. Like they're willing to have, they want to have conversations and talk it out. But at the end of the day, like we have a really amazing partners that are just like, if that's what you guys want to do, we back you 100% and let's go. So, so we're lucky to have people like that around us as well.
Yeah. I feel like too, like, I don't know if people realize like how counter that is to like where we grew up, especially, and like how the vibe was like as kids. Like, I think that's why that is such a core part of the Aces, is like, we had to fight so hard against the culture is so strong here in Utah, and we were everything besides what was the status quo and like how to fit in. And so I feel like, it took me a little bit longer, like not being queer and kind of fitting in the Mormon mold of where we grew up. It took me a little bit longer to like get out of that, but seeing like, especially Cristal, Alisa, and Katie like talk about those stories and be really brave in that way, like helped me a lot get out of that too. And I just think that's like why it's such a core part of who we are as a band, is because it's like so opposite from where we come from.
I love it. You guys are headed out on tour with Why Don't We this summer. You have to be stoked. You just talked about the new album. Tell us what's next up. So where do you start? Where are we kicking off the tour? And when can we expect this album?
Well, we have one answer for you.
Oh, come on. I thought if I just slipped it in there, I would trick you.
Tour wise, we're still kind of in the middle of some dates are being moved, but we should be starting sometime June, July. We're still kind of figuring that out. But I think we're starting in Utah, which will be funny.
That's awesome.
Which would be great. But we're so excited. Those boys have been nothing but like really gracious and amazing to us, and just like DM'd me. I'm friends with Jonah in that band, and he just DM'd me and was like, hey, would you want to come on tour? Like, we love your band. And it was like as simple as that. It just
love it.
An easy kind of link up. And so we're stoked. Their fans are crazy. We're excited to play for them. Crazy in a great way, as in they're very loud and they're very passionate.
We love
it. And then our record, we can't say when the record's coming, but new music is coming very soon.
Are you bursting at the seams with this new music?
I don't know what they told you, and I just want to like say it all, but we have a lot of new music and a new record that we're very, very excited about. So it'll be here pretty quick. I can't say when, but quick.
Oh my God. Well, you girls are badass. You're freaking rad. I'm so excited to know you now. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with Sarah and I on Next Up with Nicole. I cannot wait to see you in concert. I really can't. I will be at one of the dates on that tour.
Hell yeah.
Can we see you there?
All right. Thank you girls so much. The Aces are definitely what's next up. This has been another episode of Next Up with Nicole. Thanks guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.